Morning, how are you doing? Welcome to another walk and talk. It's a little bit autumnal, rained overnight, it's a little bit chilly, so I've got my jacket on, keep warm. Today I'm going to talk about controlling the controllables. And what do I mean by that? I'd say, again, following on from the last stuff that I've talked about, I would say, you know, you've got kind of you've created a pitch deck and you've won a pitch, and then or a piece of work, and what you're doing is you're developing it, you're bottoming out everything from look and feel, photography, videography. You might even have a script for a film. You have you're on your way to kind of creating this thing that was in your mind. Now, you may have used a bit of kind of touchy-feely, intuitive type of process to help raise what was in the deeper recesses of your mind, but now you've got much more clarity. You know where it's going, and you're really happy about that. But you have an interim whip, and your client says that they don't like the script, or they don't like who you've cast to be in the script, and you know, the typeface is wrong and the logo's too small, or whatever it is. This is a key moment, and sometimes when I was younger I used to look at this situation and think that they were spoiling like a masterpiece, that everything that was on track to be just so or perfect in my eyes, in terms of, I suppose, being a bit of a perfectionist, was actually felt like it was getting torpedoed, and that they didn't know what they were talking about, and you know, it was such a shame and everything else. Now, when I'm saying that you can only control the controllables, what I'm saying is you can't really control the final outcome of your piece of work. And the best way to kind of demonstrate that now is if you use Mid-Journey or, you know, generative AI to create images, when you write your prompt, you can get back stuff which is kind of pretty random, and not confusing, but kind of you go, what on earth was the AI thinking? Because that's not what I wrote in the prompt. And this is exactly the same thing, but with this you sort of say to yourself, well, I accept that this is software. You get to the point that you say, I don't have as much precision involved in the outcome, particularly if you're on the tools. You know, if you're using Photoshop and you're quite capable in that respect, you can create what it is that you've got in your head on screen. So, you know, it's this thing where, you know, you say to somebody, think of a dog, and if you ask 10 people, there might be 10 different types of dogs in each person's head, you know. So it's not like you have a little brown dog and everybody thinks of the little brown dog. You know, with the same with AI, there's this, what happens is, no, it's on a spiritual level, but you sort of have to hold your hands up and say, okay, I'm letting go of control, and I'm going to accept what comes back from the prompt, as long as it's within a particular vicinity of what I'm looking for to create the desired effect in the outcome, which is persuasion. You know, we're trying to use a brand to make people feel something, to create action or transaction. So, you know, it's that thing where I would say, you know, if you can learn earlier on this beautiful piece of advice that you can't control the outcome of the final piece of work, but you can get it closer to where it wants to be. Now, the same way as I say that the client comes in and they have every right to make comments and suggest the direction of where they want things to go, because you know, they pretty much know their brand better than you do, so there has to, and they're paying the bills, so it's a case of, you know, that has to take place. But it's, you know, it's this thing that what you might get is a happy accident instead. So in your internal bits, before it gets to the client, you may brief a designer or someone using After Effects or whichever thing it is, and that person manages to take what your vision was and they thrust it into this new direction that you never thought of, and you probably never would even if you were on the tools, and they make it amazing. And then you're like, I love you, I think you're the greatest designer that ever lived, because there's this thing appeared which wasn't there before, but actually it's got a plus sign against it instead of a negative sign in your mind. So the same thing applies. You can only control the controllables, and you need to be comfortable with that and understand that when the piece of work goes live and it's in the general public space, they won't know the difference. They won't see that it's 7 degrees away from what you intended at the beginning. They've got no inkling of that. All they can see and feel is this one output, and the output will be doing its job because you did your job, the team did their job, and the client did their job. That's all I want to talk about today. Have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.